Okay, hi everyone. Sorry for sending this so late. We had a lot of problems for setting up the meeting for Mission Possible, but this is gonna be a recorded version of the first Mission Possible meeting. Both the mentors are Anushka and I, Vishay. So, what's the objective of Mission Possible? The objective of Mission Possible this year is to create a sort of a Rube Goldberg machine where there's a lot of components that work together to complete scoreable actions as well as to complete the final action. So basically, a lot of components have to work together to reach a final goal. And at the end, you have to get the most points. So this is an example of Mission Possible in the past. Um, Okay, so this is an example of Mission Possible in the past. So as you can see, there are many different components that are working together, different types of simple machines like levers or pulleys that work together to move that marble up to the end. And all of these components eventually are used as points to are are actually scoreable actions used for which can be used to get points. And at the end, the most points you get will determine if you win or not. Okay, so moving on. The main part about Mission Possible and build events in general is to read the rule. The rules for build are like the most important thing because one, they have all the scoring things, all the requirements, all the dimensions and everything, which are needed if you don't want to be disqualified. And they have stuff like impound and whatnot. And essentially, impound is um, giving that whole device beforehand and before the competition. Like if the competition is at like 10 or something, you give it at 8 a.m. so that they can go through all the safety stuff. For Mission Possible, you will not be needing an impound for regionals and invitationals, but you will be needing it for state if you guys get into state or nationals. So I'm just gonna go over some main components of the rules. So one, everyone must use eye protection, like safety goggles or anything in the actual competition. So please remember to bring that. Furthermore, remember to have remember to look through these construction parameters. So the dimension of the device should be 60 by 60 by 100 centimeters in any orientation. All the actions should be visible and verifiable. So there should be two at the top, and at least two vertical walls must be open or transparent so that all the actions can be viewed. Also, each movable and adjustable physical object must be utilized for at most one assigned action. You cannot use electricity, no candles, or chemicals are allowed. So those are essentially basic construction parameters. And now the main part to actually get points is in the device operations. So the first one is the start from just by an overview of it, you can see that the most points come from the start action as well as from the final action. And then these other actions, scoreable actions, give 50 points each. So the start action is basically you have to have a golf ball above the entire device, nothing attached to it, and it must fall into the device and initiate the action. So that one shouldn't be as hard to do. The final action is basically when, and now I'll talk about the scoreable actions after, but let's go to the final action. The final action is when there's the device releases that golf ball attached to the end of a string to form a sort of pendulum. So, and the pendulum must swing from the release point to the and swing, and then strike a release button or mechanism that raises a sign that essentially has the letters STOP, stop, written on it. It should be octagonal, and that sign must be 15 centimeters high, 15 centimeters wide, vertically oriented, red, and square or octagonal. And if the sign is vertical and completely higher than the entire device, you get 250 points. If it's partially above, you get 125, and if it's not above, you get 0. And if the golf ball strikes the release button, it gets 3 points per centimeter of the shortest straight line distance between the golf bar's starting point and the release button mechanisms. Okay, so now let's talk about each of the scoreable actions. So scoreable actions are actions in between the start and end actions where the golf ball initiates. In each of them, you get 50 points. You may use up to 12 scoreable actions throughout the entire thing. And they all must occur through the usage of simple machines, such as wedges, levers, pulleys, etc. So each of these actions, so there's a lot over here. There's around 12. So I'm not going to go through each of them, but make sure to read through them and involve them somehow in your actions, such as maybe like the golf ball, when it first hits the device, goes into it, it initiates one of the actions, which leads to another action, etc. On top of all these actions, you must have something known as the ASL, or the Action Sequence List, which should be given to the event supervisor at the time of the check-in or impound. And this list must indicate the start, the actions, and the action initiated by the golf ball, scoreable actions, attempted, any sand timers. Okay, I forgot to talk about sand timers. So essentially, sand timers are basically anything using sand that essentially increases the amount of time that the entire device is running. So that action should be over for 10 seconds, and it gives bonus points. The ASL should it should also have all the scoreable actions and the action that releases the golf ball pendulum. It should have the straight line distance, and it should be the format of one posted. It should be the same format as the one on the Science Olympiad or the SOINC website. It should be labeled. Everything in the ASL should be labeled on the device. Please remember that. Okay. So competition-wise, the target operation is 60 seconds for regionals or invitationals. For like the Bothell one this week, it'll be 60 seconds. So the timing starts when the golf ball goes in, and it ends when the stop sign is and stops when the golf pendulum strikes the stop button, or after the 2x times the target time has elapsed. So if you have a time of twice the target time, you get 0 points, and no negative scores will be given. And then now let's talk about scoring. So scoring, please read this carefully. I'm going to give an overview right now, but please make sure to go through it. So you get 50 points if the participants use no more than 30 minutes. So if you're very timely, you get 50 points. Easy 50 points. And then the next 2 points are about the ASL, Action Sequence List. Action Sequence List. So if you have 2 printed versions, you get 25 points as an easy points. If you get format right, if you have the original actions labeled on the device, you have the scoreable actions in the thing, it's accurate. So you get 25 points for that. You get 50 points for the first time on only one time that the unique action is actually completed. 100 points for the start action, 250 for the final action, and 3 points for each centimeter of the shortest straight line from the golf ball to the stop mechanisms. You get 2 seconds for each second truncated down of operation up to the target operation time. 1 point per second that a sand timer runs. 0.1 for every 0.1 centimeters that device dimensions are underneath 60 centimeters for 2 dimensions and 100 centimeters for the third dimension. So if you make it as small as possible, you can get up to 30 points, which for a total becomes 90 points for each of them. You get 75 points for a device with no adjustment during the operation. Now penalties. You get 2 points off for each second that it operates above the target operation time until 2 times the target time. So if it's 60, you get minus 2 points until it goes to 120 seconds. You get 25 points for removed for every dimension of the device exceeding the 60 or 100 centimeters. If the 2 walls aren't open or transparent, or if it's adjusted up to 3 times. dimensions. You get 50 points off if there's any solid or liquid leaving the measured dimensions of the device. So like if the golf ball comes off of the device, that'll be an immediate 50 points off. And you can't use electricity. Ties are broken if there's less few from 1, the least penalty points, and then 2, the smallest dimensions. Okay, so now let's go over some tips. 1. Read through all of the rules. Even though I went through all the rules right now, make sure to keep reading over and over again. Dedicate one whole meeting with your partner just reading the rules and memorizing them. Even print them out and keep them in a folder and take them with you when you go build the actual device, because they have all the requirements, such as size, allowed materials, and everything. And it has all the scoreable actions. Now let's talk about what to prioritize. Start and final action. Please make sure you have these. These are easy points and a lot of points. 2. The action sequence list. As you saw, they're like pretty easy to have, so make sure to have all that so that you can get the points. Also, these ASLs are similar to design logs or flight logs if you did flight last year. 3. Make sure you get as close to the target operation time. That you get 1 second. You get 2 points for every second up to the target operation time. Finally, also make sure to keep your dimensions as small as possible while still maximizing the amount of scoreable actions, because those are used for tiebreakers and you can get quite a lot of points from having it as small as possible. Penalties wise, make the dimensions below the 60 by 60 by 100. No electricity. Make sure it's below the target operation time, and impound and state in nets. And we'll let you guys know if it's necessary. So for the regionals and for the invitationals in Bothell, I'm pretty sure we don't need an impound. Continue. Make sure to look at the different types of simple machines and study them. So there's a website from Scioli, the wiki. Make sure to go through them. And keep your design simple and reliable. Don't have fancy ones. Instead, keep it straightforward, effective, reliable, and consistent, so that it keeps working over and over again. Okay, so this is the page I was talking about on the Scioli wiki for Mission Possible. So this has the type of simple machines that you are required to have in each of your actions. So I'll go over a few right now. So levers are basically they're basically 3 types of levers: first class, second, and third. And it's basically when there's a fulcrum in the middle or the sides, and the loads are on the other sides. So it's essentially like moving it from one side. It's so essentially there's something in the middle known as a fulcrum, and there's something on top that sways one side to the other. There's also an inclined plane, which is something like that, and it's a ramp that lessens the force. It lessens the force that it needs to get off the ground. There's also a wedge, which is similar to an inclined plane in theory, but in practice it's different since it allows you to push 2 objects apart more easily. There's also something known as a screw, which is a simple mechanism used to convert rotational force into linear motion through like threads and a certain pitch, which is the ridges with a certain angle. There's also wheel and axles, where there's a wheel attached to an axle and it transfers energy from one part to another. There's also a pulley system, as you might have seen in that example I showed, that has mechanical advantage to transfer energy. So I just gave you a summary of what each are, but make sure to go in depth, research what they are, and how to implement them in your scoreable actions. Now let's get back to the present. Okay, so next steps. I know this is really late, but make sure you have already met with your partner and read through all the rules in depth. Think about your game plan and what to do, and think about what scoreable actions to prioritize. 2, make sure you've already had a design. Think about the order of the scoreable actions, how to implement them, what to and where to implement. And finally, buy parts. I hope you guys have already bought parts by now. Sorry for the late recording, but make sure you have parts such as wood or pegboards for like the base and the 2 sides. You can use Home Depot as a reliable source for wood. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you can email us at our BSD or personal emails, or even in the Mission Possible channel. But thank you for listening. Make sure to give us questions. And once again, sorry for the inconveniences about the Mission Possible. Thank you.